Some major news in Georgia. Bond has been set today for Donald Trump in the Fulton County, Georgia trial at $200,000. But it was the conditions of his bond that posed a serious problem for the former president. The order, signed by both Georgia Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee and Trump's own attorneys, states, quote, "The defendant shall perform no act to intimidate any person known to him or her to be a co-defendant or witness in this case, or to otherwise obstruct the administration of justice." That restriction also includes a prohibition on any direct or indirect threat of any nature against the community or to any property in the community. The above shall include, but are not limited to, posts on social media or reposts of posts made by another individual on social media. Here's why following this order is going to prove especially difficult for Trump, because he's already violated it. Remember, just days ago, Trump took to Truth Social writing, "I'm reading reports that failed former Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Jeff Duncan, will be testifying before the Fulton County grand jury. He shouldn't. I barely know him, but he was, right from the beginning of this witch hunt, a nasty disaster for those looking into the election fraud that took place in Georgia." And let's be perfectly clear about what this was. Witness intimidation and obstruction of justice. Trump stated in his own post that he knows that Jeff Duncan will be testifying, thereby making it crystal clear that he's aware he is a witness, but then he goes on to state publicly that he shouldn't testify. Why? Because he's trying to ramp up the pressure against him, because he knows that when he speaks, his supporters listen. And while Trump might not be threatening to commit violence himself, he knows that his supporters will. And so just like they took his words as orders on January 6th, they'll take these words as orders with regard to Jeff Duncan here, along with any other witnesses who Trump publicly names. Maybe Trump might have had plausible deniability the first time, but given the violence that inevitably follows when he issues his little edicts, that plausible deniability is now gone. And he knows it, but again, as far as he's concerned, that's totally fine, because the violence is quite literally the point. He did the same thing against Mike Pence, another cooperating witness in the DC case this time. Trump again took to Truth Social writing, "Wow, it's finally happened. Little Mike Pence, a man who was about to be ousted as governor of Indiana until I came along and made him VP, has gone to the dark side. I never told the newly emboldened, not based on his 2% poll numbers, Pence to put me above the Constitution, or that Mike was too honest. He's delusional and now he wants to show he's a tough guy." Talk about a lack of subtlety. Donald Trump invoked the indictment itself, which included a reference to Trump calling Pence too honest, meaning that he literally attacked Pence for what he said while he was cooperating with federal prosecutors. This guy is simply not capable of not attacking witnesses, nor will he ever be. And by the way, if you think that now that Trump's been given a bond order, that he's suddenly going to change his tune and fly straight, just remember that when Trump was being arraigned for the election theft case in Washington, D.C., here's what the magistrate judge said to him. Quote, "It is important that you comply with each of your conditions. If you fail to comply with any of your conditions of release, a warrant may be issued for your arrest, your conditions of release may be revoked, and you may be held pending trial in this case. You may also be charged with contempt of court for having violated court-ordered conditions of release. Your most important condition of release, sir, is that you not commit a state, federal, or local crime while on release. If you were to do so, again, a warrant may be issued for your arrest, your conditions of release may be revoked, and you may be held pending trial in this case." And immediately thereafter, he made that post intimidating Jeff Duncan, which, by the way, is not only a violation of the very condition of release that he expressly agreed to in that DC courtroom, but it is a state crime in Georgia, meaning Trump was warned, agreed to the conditions set forth, and immediately violated those conditions by committing that state crime. And if you think he won't do it again, then you must not have been awake during the last 6 years. So at this point, when Donald Trump does inevitably violate his bond order, I hope that this right here serves as Trump's warning. And I hope the court is prepared to remand him to custody pending trial, because it'll be the court's reputation on the line here. And remember, this wouldn't just be holding Donald Trump accountable for the sake of holding Donald Trump accountable. There is a very clear rationale as to why the court must not allow Trump to be out in public if he refuses to abide by the terms of his release. If he refuses to not intimidate witnesses and obstruct justice and attack the cities he's being prosecuted in and sick his supporters on certain properties like courthouses. It's because doing so puts the integrity of the trial at risk. Tainting the jury pool by issuing threats puts the integrity of the trial at risk. Trying to remove the case to a different jurisdiction by attacking the city it's in over and over and over again puts the integrity of the trial at risk. Intimidating witnesses so they don't testify against you puts the integrity of the trial at risk. Inciting a mob to a courthouse to exert pressure on judges or prosecutors or witnesses puts the integrity of the trial at risk. If Donald Trump can't manage to control himself, which, here's a hint, he can't, then the court should be prepared to act on its own order and remand him to custody pending trial when he inevitably violates that order. Because let's be clear, if Trump knows he can get away with something without getting punished, He'll do it over and over and over again. Do not give this guy an inch or he'll take 100 miles. And in terms of there already being a predicate to jail him pending trial in one case, here are a number of Department of Justice veterans acknowledging that that rationale absolutely exists.
That post about somebody he knew was about to testify before the grand jury is absolutely witness intimidation, witness tampering, influencing a witness. And if that represents a violation of Georgia state law, and I absolutely believe it does on the facts, on the evidence, that can serve as a basis to revoke him in his federal case because, as we just discussed, the judge said, while you're on release in this federal case, your most important condition is that you not violate any federal law, any state law, or any local law. So I think Donald Trump has a world of hurt about to come crashing down on him.
You can't tell a witness not to comply with a grand jury subpoena unless there's some legal ability to do that. But that's not what the former president did. So it'll be interesting to see how the judge deals with bail as we go forward.
At the end of the day, the big hammer she has, of course, but she doesn't want to deploy it early or at all if she can help it, is putting him in jail. But they know that at the end of the day, it's her courtroom, it's her witnesses to worry about, it's her process to take account of, and she will, I think she showed today, be unafraid if he pushes her to the wall of responding with the most severe sanction.
And by the way, just to answer another question that I know some of you are thinking, how was Trump's bond only set at $200,000? The guy claims to be a billionaire. Why wouldn't they set it higher? The point of setting bond higher would be if there was a flight risk. Trump is never not without his Secret Service protection, meaning in the same way that Secret Service is there to protect him at all times, they're also there to serve as an impediment if he were to try and flee the country at all times. And that's a phenomenon I discuss with my Legal Breakdown co-host Glenn Kirshner.
He's got the Secret Service watching over him 24/7. So how could he flee? Because he can't shake Secret Service protection. That's for darn sure. So, I don't think he is a flight risk as much as I think he's a danger to the community. And people should know that there are two reasons, or there are two separate reasons a judge can order somebody detained pending trial, jailed pending trial, if there's clear and convincing evidence that he's a flight risk, or if there's clear and convincing evidence that he's a danger to the community. Donald Trump is perhaps the most dangerous pretrial defendant to the community, to our nation, at this moment in time. I hope at some point some of these judges sit up, take note of that fact, and consider ordering him detained pending trial.
If Trump did flee and he was ordered to court and he did have a Secret Service detail, would those people then go from protecting him to then basically defending these court orders and be there to return him to the United States if they needed to?
Yeah, they're sworn to protect the president, but their loyalty is to the Constitution and the rule of law. And I would not bank on them protecting a runaway, literally runaway president. They would do what they had to do to enforce the rule of law and to serve the Constitution.
So now we wait and see what happens in Georgia, but at this point, it's all but inevitable that Trump sets himself up to be remanded to custody pending trial. And while Trump may actually prefer it, considering there's nothing he loves more than playing the victim card, something tells me that swing voters aren't exactly going to be over the moon casting their ballot for a guy currently sitting in prison awaiting trial for not one, not two, not three, but 4 criminal indictments facing 91 charges. Trump said he wanted to be the law and order candidate. Now he gets to actually prove it. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to the channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.